Mr. Ambassador, during the past few months, expectations have been expressed in Greece that the country will stop borrowing from its partners, leaving behind the status of close supervision and painful economic measures. Do you find this assessment well-grounded, or do you think it is still too early?
First of all, let me say that I fully recognize the enormous effort, especially by the Greek people, that have gone into the last 4 years. We Germans have an idea of what it means to have to live with 20 or 30% reductions in salaries and so on, and pensions. Therefore, it is absolutely clear that we would all wish that Greece could leave the current period of strict supervision and surveillance and move on to another chapter. However, we have also seen during the past month how volatile the markets and the external environment can be, and I do believe that it is in the interest of not only the Greek economy but of the country as a whole to now look together with the European partners for a formula that would on the one hand enable Greece to turn that page and to be again to reach more autonomy in the way it decides on the destiny and on the reforms in this country, but on the other hand also a partnership that provides for a safety net and security in case the external environment deteriorates. And the reactions of the markets of the past month have been, I think, a lesson that we should not neglect. And I do believe that it is in the interest of everybody that we find a formula that combines both more autonomy on the one hand, but also a safety net on the other hand.
Sustainability of the public debt is an important piece in the puzzle of the Greek case. What kind of characteristics should the Greek debt solution have, according to Berlin?
Well, I do believe if you look at the latest forecast by the European Commission, which has been published last week, you see that the development of the Greek economy is forecasted to be very positive. You will see a growth rate this year of 0.6%, we hope. You will see a growth rate next year of 2.9% and then a growth rate above 3% in 2016. The figures show clearly if you continue this path, if you make sure that this agenda is pursued, that you will also have results regarding unemployment, and you will also, of course, have results regarding the level of sovereign debt. And I do believe it is important that we stick to the path that we have agreed jointly.
Do you think that the erasure of a big part of the Greek debt would be acceptable by the German taxpayers? Under which conditions?
First of all, let me say that from what I note, this is not a priority from what we hear from the Greek government. Secondly, I would say that it would raise difficult questions in other European countries. Thirdly, I would say that if you were to erase the debt which is held mainly by official lenders, but also by, for example, Greek banks, you have to carefully analyze the effect that this might have, for example, on the credit situation in Greece. And lastly, let me say that in many European countries, this is going to be a very tricky legal issue because as far as official lending is concerned, there are no appropriate legal basis to allow for such a, let's say, significant erasure of public debt.
Which is, in your opinion, the greatest danger which threatens the implementation of Eurozone's reform program in Greece?
Well, I would mention two things. One great danger, I do believe, is the unpredictability of the external environment. If you look at what has happened in the international scene over the past year, there are many things we didn't predict. The Ukraine crisis, the situation in the Middle East, the Islamic State movement, and so on. So all these things, of course, influence markets and confidence in the economy, not only in Greece, but in all countries. And I think it is important that we take measures to, like a safety net, precautionary programs, to make sure that we are able to mitigate the effects that this might have on our economies. The second thing I would say is that I wouldn't call it a danger, I would call it an interest. I think it would be important that we keep up the momentum and the interest to go through the reform process, which is very fundamental in this country. And I wouldn't call it, again, a danger. I think what we have to see is that this process will take some time. It is not something that you can achieve from one day to the other or from one year to the other. You have to see to it that you have to explain to the people what this process is about, and that it will not take place within 1 year, that it will take maybe 2 or 3 or even more years. And I think it is important that all of us, and this is not only the Greek government but all responsible in Europe and the Eurozone, explain to the public that this is a difficult process, it takes time, but at the end I do believe that Europe and the Eurozone will stand there in a much better shape than before, and also every single European citizen will be better off than he or she is now.
Well, it has also to do with the internal political developments, of course.
Of course, you know, as an ambassador, I will refrain from making comments on the domestic situation, but I will just point to the fact that it is important that the reform agenda is continued, and as broader the base in the society is, the better.
Mr. Ambassador, thank you for this interview.
It was a pleasure. Thank you very much.